Hi, welcome to the Pure Thought Consultancy. Today we have come with another topic that is a very important topic in the software industry, and it's related to the non-functional and functional aspect both at the same time. That is authentication and authorization. So we will see that how we can do these both testing and the methods and how we can make sure that our application the entry point is secure enough to use, and then there is no possibility that the unauthentic user can get inside the application. So for that, because it's an entry point of your application all the time, so you need to make sure that your authentication and authorization process is bulletproof and it cannot allow unauthorized users to go inside and you can say or you use any unauthorized access for your system. So in today's session, we will go and see that how the authentication and the authorization is applicable, and we can test that in our software testing for any of the project. So in the today's session, we will go and pick one example from the healthcare industry and see that how we can implement and kick off the basically the authentication and the authorization. So here is the my introduction. So I have a 15-year experience in software testing, and I have touched different projects as a solo, as a team member, as a leader of the team, and in the industry for multinational company. And I have touched also the five different domains where I have served my services as a tester, as a consultant, and currently I'm serving different multinational company as a consultant. So here are some digital gadgets which can help you to reach out me if you have any question regarding the software testing in your career, and if you really want to join the software testing career as a fresher. So I will be the person who can guide you and share the roadmap and help you out to gear up your skill set. So as we have discussed in the earlier part of the session, that in today's topic we are going to discuss about the authentication and the authorization. They both are a very crucial and concept in the software security basically, and if we talk about any domain like we have discussed in the today's session for the healthcare, but in any other domain, it's very important aspect. So in the authentication, what we have to test and how we can test. So in the authentication process, basically we are identifying the user, our system which is under use, that is that mean that the user is approaching to the system that is authentic user, and we have to allow that to go inside and use our application, or go inside the application and use the application. So in the objective in the authentication, basically we are checking that and validating the credential of the user, like the username and the password. Or nowadays we do have a lot of other mechanism like the biometric, the thumb expression, and the facial recognition, like in we have the Apple devices. So we need to make sure on every aspect, from every aspect on each level, that the user who is approaching to the application, or user who is going to use the application, that is an authentic user. So in the example part, normally we do have different type of role in the healthcare domain for the application and on the system level. So we need to make sure whenever the doctor log in and you try to use the application, so it should visible and authorized for those areas which is designated with the doctor's you can say the specialty and as a module and as a requirement. And whenever the nurses and any other paramedical staff is going to log in, so that they are able to see only those area which are belonging from them. So to make sure that, we have to implement the fingerprint, biometric, facial recognition, and the 2FA mechanism is very famous, where we have to allow user to set pin and the OTP concept, one time pin, to make sure that the real user is approaching towards the system and try to log in. And the mechanism of 2FA is that you have to provide one email or any of your cell number on which the application will send the OTP, and you need to set and log in every time, even though you are entering the valid credentials. But we are capping extra layer of security, and we are checking and the 2FA to make sure that the real user is approaching the application. So that's how we can check the authentication. And we do have a lot of other technique to make sure the authentication in the databases and the application layer, and by hashing the keys and the database, like encrypting, decrypting, and different salt mechanism, where we can generate a key token key and cross check that the user which is coming and approaching to the system is the real user, and we are authenticating the right user from for our application. So in the next step, once the authentication is done, so now the authorization part will trigger for the application, where we are checking that the authenticated user is allowed to do within a system. And now we are going to authorize only those areas of application which are belonging to that person who is going to log in according to the requirement. So normally we are maintaining different privileges, rights, and granted the privileges when the authenticated user is jumped in, and now we are going to authorize the user to see and view those pages which are belonging to that role. So in the role based system, normally let's suppose we do have a two or three type of role in the healthcare, like the doctors and the nurses and the front desk officer. So we have to visible and visualize the specific area of the application and the product to these three roles. So we need to make sure that once the user is pass the authentication, then the authorization process will be triggered. And according to the rules and the rights, we have to show only those areas uh, uh, which is belonging to that person should be visible to them. So in the authorization part, normally we tackling authorization tackling with the help of privileges and the role in the application. So we need to make sure that the total role which we have in our application, we need to test application from log in all the roles for all the roles and check the visibility and the visualization of the application module according to the rules. So that's how we can check the authentication and the authorization in our testing for any of the application, doesn't matter it's belong from which domain. So here I have sum up a different aspect of the authentication and the authorization in a summary form, which will help us to you will which will help us and to you as well to understand more in detail. And let's suppose if we talk about the focus, so in the authentication we are focusing on the validation of the identity, mean that the real user is joining the system. There is no, you can say, the attacker and the suspicious user who is going to jump in. So we need to make sure from every prospect which we have discussed on the previous slide for the authentication and authorization. So and after that, once the authentication is passed for the user, then we go and authorize the authorization of that user according to the rules and right. And what it happens before authorization during the login or entry process. So we need to make sure that the authentication process trigger out first, and then after the authentication, once we have confirmed the application is fully checked at the all level that the user who is going to log in is the authentic user, then we will authorize this user to go and inside the application and use. So the techniques, the password, the biometric, the 2FA in the authentication and for authorization, role-based access control and access control list, which are the two different techniques which we can use to implement authorization and authentication in our application. The outcome, user is identified as a legitimate, and a user is granted to or deny the access. Let's suppose if you are logged in with that user who is not eligible to view the maybe a financial aspect of the application inside the product. So like if you have a financial reports which we don't want to show any of the user except specific, so in that case we will see and check by logging different logins that the real user can see those financial reports and make sure that the rest of all the roles are using and getting the privileges and grant the access according to the logic and the requirement. So here are some tools as well which we are using in the LDAP and the OAuth is for the authentication, and the OAuth and the rule-based system is for the authorization. So for today's session, we have done. If you have any question regarding the authentication and the authorization, although I have quickly sum up for the for the abstract level, but we do have a lot of things to keep in mind while we are doing testing. In coming session, we will cover the detailed aspect of authentication and authorization as well. Hope so. And if you have any question in this, so you will get back to me in the comment section of this video. So I will try to answer your question as soon as possible whenever I get time. Thanks. Take care.